I am Sarah. I read as Sora the Intuitive for Sky Messages by Sora. I am a tarot reader who specializes in past life readings. I also teach and mentor the tarot. I have two journals, one for learning the tarot and one for more learning yourself and deepening the connection with your deck. That one's a collaboration with Killer Pancake, who makes a couple of the decks I'll be reviewing. The reason I started this channel, and specifically this series, the tarot review series, is that I really want people to be able to have a connection. I want anyone who wants to do the tarot to be able to learn it. And a lot of times people get really frustrated because the first deck that they start using, they don't really connect with. And so I'm hoping that instead of getting frustrated or spending a lot of money on decks that they then realize they don't want, people can sort of start to learn what their style is, what theme they're looking for, what kind of imagery works for them, and help people find the right decks for them. I do believe that if there is a tarot deck out there, there is an audience for it. And if there is somebody who wants to learn, then there's definitely a deck for them. So this won't have star ratings. This won't be about what's good and bad. It'll be about the details, such as the guidebook, a level that it's good for, like basic to advanced. It will be, how close it is to the Rider-Waite or the Tarot de Marseille, or the Thoth for those who prefer that. And it will just give people a look and hopefully help them start to begin their journey. Or for those of us who have been on their journey for a while, but are thinking about new decks and testing out different things, give them a preview. So there are some of the decks behind me, but if there are any you're interested in, let me know. And let's get started. And today we are going to talk about the Edgar Allan Poe tarot deck. One thing I want to point out before we get into the cards is the box and the book. This box is really sturdy and really beautiful. And the book is amazing. It has full page illustrations for every card. It talks about what the Poe reference is, as well as what the meanings are for every card. It's great for new beginners. It even acknowledges that sometimes the first deck people pick up is not necessarily a learning deck, and so it actually does have a section on how to read cards in general, tarot cards in general, and how to read these cards, and it's really, really beautiful, really well done. Okay, on to the cards. Okay, so this is a Rider-Waite based deck, and right off the bat, one of the things that I really love about it, trying to get in focus, is that it keeps the names we are used to, both in the major arcana and in the minor, where it keeps the suits, the cups, the swords, the wands, and the pentacles. And even while the pentacles are gold scarabs for abundance and fortune, they still keep the pentacle look. And while I personally don't mind when the suits are changed or the names are adjusted in a deck, it can be hard for people who don't read as often as I do, or who are new to reading tarot. So it's just a nice touch. It is a Rider-Waite based deck, and it sticks very close to the themes and meanings of the cards and even the illustrations. This is one of my favorite examples. Usually with the Five of Cups, you will see a man standing, his back turned away from the two full cups and sort of side-eyeing the three empty cups. It's a card of grief and loss, but also of mixed emotion. And one of the great things about this deck, sorry, I'm making extra shadow in the grave, is that this is the story of Lenore. And, he so mourns her and grieves for her that I love that the big change here, other than just making sure you knew which story it was with having Lenore on the name and having a man at the gravesite, is he's feeling the loss. This is feeling the feelings. They're right next to him. But then he's taking what bounty, what happiness, what full emotions he has left, and still trying to share that with her. So to me, it's a much deeper look into grief. So it holds the same meaning, and it even takes it, I think, a step further. For the most part, the aces are very interesting. This one is probably the most typical ace. Everything hits a story, and all of the court cards are still people, so they still read with that same feeling of court cards. The cards are all based on pieces of the stories and the poems, the complete works of Edgar Allan Poe. And I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan, and I haven't read most of his adventure stuff. I read all of the poems, all of the horror, all of the mystery, but I'm still working my way through the adventure. So even being a huge fan and a lifelong tarot reader, I was really excited that the guidebook tells you every story, every reference. And it actually makes me really excited to go back and read some of the adventure stories. The illustrations are so well done, though, that people who are fans of certain parts of his work will recognize them. And even people who just know the references on their own because they've been in other things. I love the details. They're very easy to shuffle. The cards are fairly typical tarot. The Emperor is the only card that is not a Poe reference. It is actually Edgar Allan Poe. And that's very fitting. He was big into the occult, big into connecting with spirit guides, with the higher self, reincarnation. Here you have Fortunato from the Cask of Amontillado. It's just a really beautiful way to honor him. The cards read really well. You can get so much from the stories. They're fantastic for intuitive reading. They're really, really beautiful. It's really well thought out. I am someone who really likes the horror themed decks, as you'll notice the more we go into these. So I am in particular a fan. But honestly, you don't even need to be a fan, I think, to love the illustrations and to be able to use the deck. It's great for anyone who is a Rider-Waite fan, like a Rider-Waite trained reader. It's great for anyone. You have the Raven as the magician. Love that. Who is beginning or who just isn't an all-the-time tarot reader. Somebody who likes to read for themselves once in a while. But it's great for advanced readers as well. Like it's good for any level because it has so much you can do in terms of interpretation, intuition. There's so much to pull from between the stories. There's the Telltale Heart. I love that for the Three of Swords, the card of heartbreak and disappointment. And instead of swords, it's the floorboards. Like, I love those kind of details. Like, I know it sounds gross, but it's just so well thought out. So all in all, I'm really excited about this deck. I've been using it here and there to read, mostly on TikTok. But I've done a couple of readings for people with them and a few for myself, and I just am in love with this deck. As I mentioned before, it's really easy to shuffle, and that is always very helpful. So you're climbing out the top. So I'm just really in love with this deck. We'll do a quick reading. So let's do a message for the week. Let's see what's coming. Just grab 3 cards and see how they work. So that is the 2 of Pentacles, the 4 of Swords, and the 4 of Cups. So these are interesting together. The 2 of Pentacles, you generally have a lot on your plate. The 2s are all about things like balance. And the Pentacles, we look at financial, material, it's the earth suit. And so this says to me that there's a lot of priorities that we're going to need to get out, particularly at the beginning of the week. But then the 4 of Swords is a card of rest. I actually think of it as a card of rest and recovery because it comes directly after the 3 of Swords. And if you know me, you know that that is my least favorite card because I am not a feel your feelings person. So the disappointment and heartbreak is really hard for me. So it does seem like we have kind of a heavy week, a lot of priorities, a lot to get done, but then we'll have a moment and to get rest and to be sure that you do get that time, because recovery is so important. If you burn yourself out, you will not get to accomplish anything else. So that's just something to keep in mind. And then we have the 4 of Cups. The 4 of Cups is always a reminder to me to have patience. It's generally a card of like boredom, but for me, it is all about that patience. And especially with these, it's like we're working really hard. It's almost like we need to watch out for not beating ourselves up over taking that time to rest. There's going to be that, I should have accomplished this by now, but also that waiting for rewards. Things take time. Just because you plant the seeds at the beginning of the week doesn't mean it'll be there at the end. The recovery is still important. You still need to nurture that garden. I just want to kind of urge you to make sure that you allow that to happen. And know that just because you have to wait doesn't mean something isn't coming. Thank you.